Greetings, welcome to Elven Pod number 18 and the Immortal Starlight Dream Pod episode 18, and this pod that is a prayer to the landing, the arriving, the discovering, unveiling, living of your immortal starlight dream upon this earth, and very much shared through the light of my own elven remembrance and the elven wisdom teachings for our ascension, for the dawn at this time. And the elven do remember through the great ages of starlight what it is to live upon this earth by the light of our immortal starlight dream of the one who we are, and that in truth earth is a realm that long through the great ages has been and continues to be a place, indwellingness of this immortal starlight that we are, and the remembrance quite simply of the joy, the beauty of existence upon earth, the gift of life itself. And with this pod I would love to share of our okay, so the words coming in as I listen is our Celestial Swan Feather cloak. And it's been a mystery for me in some ways as I've walked my pathway of remembrance that is both very ethereal in a way and very earthly all at once. And it's a pathway that for me began with an awakening, just such a deep sense that was very immediate of this heaven that is earth, of this remembrance stepping across, as it were, into another earth, a golden earth, an earth that has always been here, is with us in every moment, and yet has through the last aeon become veiled. And this is, if you like, the shining earth, the new earth, the golden earth that has always been. And many mystics and seers and those awakening at this time are speaking of this experience of there being more than one earth, as it were, literally more than one physical earth, more than one continuum, timeline, and that we can move back and forth. And that sounds pretty far out in a way. I mean, we can get so used to these things, once we awaken. But in a way too, that's an incredible thing to say. It's an incredible thing to feel, quite extraordinary. And I do believe it's not. I believe it's not a belief. There we go. There's one. It's not a belief. It's not something to believe in. It's first and foremost, I think, for so many awakening, it's an experience. And it's a moment even. Whenever that first happens for you, whenever you first have that experience, as I did many years ago and have grown into, am in a transition into, more and more and more of me transitioning into, that this doorway opens, this awareness, this veil lifts to another continuum upon this earth, another vibrational continuum, and there is a sense that you literally stand on another ground. And ever since that moment for me, when I had that awakening, which was back when I was 19 and many moons ago, many years ago now, over 20 years ago, but that, it changed everything. Everything altered in that moment, because without the existence of that experience, well, the earth that I walked on, the old earth, if you like, was whole. It was complete. And I would have continued to try to move, to find my existential coordinates within that reality. And yet, once this experience happened of another earth opening up, another ground, another continuum, it was as though impossible to continue on that old one. Simply impossible. And the only choice really was to discover how then do I live as a whole being, always on this other ground, because I want to serve life, reality, all the realms from here. And it can seem like the most quiet act of utter, gentle, determined activism, if you like, to make that shift. And I believe, in a sense, that has been my activism of this lifetime, which is a quiet one in a sense, but it is a relentless determination in a sense, just an absolute command and a declaration with my being that I choose that. And though it might take great learning for all of myself to migrate, to learn the grace, the ways of grace and purity again, to be wise enough to listen to my true voice, higher self, in every moment, breath, to move in balance, to shed the habits of an aeon, both ancestral and personal, that take me out back to that old earth ground, essentially. Take me back to an earth that where I might feel lost and small, or at moments grand and important, where I might feel full of suffering or full of a massive pendulum swing to joy, but in a kind of dizzy height kind of a way, where I may feel that I'm in constant effort towards something, or away from something. All of these qualities that are part of that old earth ground, and we experience it uniquely, our old earth, our old self, our dualistic self, if you like, where we go when we are in that split, what it looks like for you, how life starts to shape itself when you're there. Whether it's, comparison, seeing through the eyes of criticism around you, overwhelmed by a sense of judgment and duality of that which is around, the world around, or whether it's of yourself, a crushing sense of that, whether you feel riven between great energies of kind of longing to break free, but immense interference, a sense of negative energy that pins you and imprisons you where you are, that you can't share the beauty that you hold. All of that belongs to that old earth ground and experience, and is, when we are in it, is whole unto itself, as it were. As I say, before that doorway opened to the other earth, it's like that's a whole existence. And within what can one do but try one's best to find balance, to find wellness, to find peace, to find ways of being expressive of love, to be good to those around us, to be true to our dream, to who we are. But it all feels like there's quite an effort involved in that old earth ground. But I do believe within that old earth ground that our aspiration, our well-meaning is worth so much, that all of our practices of how we come back into balance, how we find our way back to the soul star, back to the essence of who we are all of so much value. And to use the wise ways we have, to make use of them, to come back into balance, into a sacred reality once more, and to trust the pulses of the heart, of the intuition, guiding in every moment, wishing to guide us back, because this migration is universal. we are not in our own small wave with this. It is a galactic and a universal ascension through the physical plane. And we are, if you like, in this great tidal pull of the lights of our greater selves and of Source calling us across, migrating us across now into this golden earth, this other earth. And the way that it speaks to each one of us is through our heart, through our intuition, through those whispers of the soul that bring that gentle directive, that gentle yet powerful directive to how we can make our transition, the aspect of ourselves that we're in, how that we can make its transition back to this new earth, this golden earth. And for many of us, when we first have that experience, we don't even really know how it happened, how we did that. Like divine grace arriving, our celestial swan feathers of our great wings suddenly take to flight and we transition into a different reality. If you like, override moments of our greater self, arriving and alighting, the angel of ourself arriving and alighting and giving us a different directive, a different moment altogether. And their leap points, their incredible points where it all opens up. But when we're back in that old earth experience, we might think, I don't actually know how. Do I have the effective tools and means? How do I get back over there again, as it were, to use this metaphor of somewhere and here, of old earth and new earth? And from that place, I know it can feel so frustrating. It can feel so frustrating. Why can't I just switch on my celestial swan feathers again? Why can't I just, by sheer longing or will in this moment, or attention, knowing where to place my attention, shift across? How can it be that I can't do that? And I find that in those times, the best way for me is I have to still into what is presenting within me in truth, and to catch the cadences, the whispers of my soul star's guidance, and take it a step at a time. The wise tools, the ways that my own soul star, not quite with full celestial swan feather magnificence, but a step at a time, is showing me how to migrate, how to step across. And with that guidance, it might be, so many small things that it can be, because the new earth is a vibration, a frequency continuum. It is that golden diamond frequency of love, of shining as the spiritual sun that you are, of love, of divine source consciousness. And so it is the gestures of love that guide us back across. And so there's no definite universal overarching form for that. And I know that for me, the gestures of love, the wise tools, the ways of creation that have re-gifted themselves back through my I am presence are, in this lifetime, are the ways of shamanism, the tools of this, of my drum. I've spoken of this last time, of the sage, of calling in the 4 directions, and in fact the 7 directions, of the elemental temples of light, of the great tree of peace at the center that has the final 3 of the 7 directions, of the below and the above and the within, and of calling in those worlds, those realms, and through that coming into balance, coming into the sacred prayer within existence that flows through my soul lineage and light. And even lighting the candle, burning the sage, taking up my drum, being willing to come into sacred respect, donning my cream wool robe here, and I think of them as my Flintstone necklace. It's beautiful, the tulsa beads, the wood, and just coming into respect, reverence, however it expresses for you. And even this ring I bought years ago that was in a shop in Aberystwyth in Wales, and it's got 3 pieces of turquoise at the bottom, and the silver. It's like a shield, really. But I think of it as part of my sacred regalia of respect, of coming into reverence and respect with life once more, and calling in the balance. And so with these ways, our celestial swan feather cloak, it comes into existence once more, and we make our beautiful migration across into this golden ground of the new earth, of this earth that is literally a heaven earth, a heavenly earth, an earth of love, of divine source consciousness, and the arising of the realms of peace for all. And yeah, it feels so different to be there, to being in the place where one is kind of fighting for that peace or aspiring to it, where you can feel that light within, but it's not emanating. You're not located in that part of yourself, and therefore you're not experiencing this walk upon the ground of the new earth. And so flowing through for this Elven Immortal Starlight pod number 18 is really to, while we are moving ever more into this state of interdimensional immanence, of simply being that which we are, of feeling ourselves effortlessly emanating as bliss, as love, as that Christ light that we are, as that I am divine celestial source presence, primordial power of who we are. And yes, that is simply effortless presence. Everything is respect, is love, is ceremony within this space. Everything. And I've had a day like that yesterday. It was so beautiful. I shifted back across again, having been in a passage of being out of that. And as I integrated a part that was still walking the old earth, and I walked into the weight of that, and then came back. And as that came back and reunified back, my energy came back yesterday, and I was cleaning the house, and I was in such a state of rapture and an appreciation, gratitude, bliss and peace with life, and just the joy of existing here upon the earth. And I know when I'm in that frequency, that for me is the new earth, that is the golden earth. And while my house doesn't look like anything very spectacular in its own way, before I had children, sons and partners, and my whole home was like a glowing, beautiful, elven and an earth realm. And I had everything very particular, crystals here and my harp here, and then I had one small boy, and then another, and bit by bit all of those things kind of migrated into more of, so I'm sitting here in my temple space now, but the house, the corridors full of bicycles, and it's the house is, in so many ways about the functionality of a whole family living together. There's things that come and go, packages, arrivals, departures, things ready for the charity shop, things that come and go. And yeah, so this feeling of new earth isn't always about everything taking some, this heaven earth, this golden earth isn't, we see beyond appearances. It's the frequency of love. And as I feel those, the wheels of the bicycles, and I'm dusting and hoovering around them, and that it's about the frequency of love, of the family that we are evolving and coming into being, and that is forming itself of many strands. And it's when you're in that new earth frequency, you suddenly see and feel everything that way. Whereas, and I've had an interesting life journey, because I grew up in southeast London in Camberwell, and kind of, it was rough back in those days, and then my parents they became very successful in their work when I was about 7, 8 years old, and they moved to the countryside to these beautiful, great homes and land and great old trees and flowers, and it's just so beautiful, you know, great arching windows, light coming in, spaciousness, and yet my own life journey has not been a continuum of that kind of physical reality. I very much chose to, in some ways, let go of that in order to really discover who I am, and to come into this, discover how to build a reality from that divine and I am source presence. And yeah, not that I believe one is versus the other, physical beauty and an abundance and wealth and all of that, but they're not opposed to one another. And yet for me there's been a letting go of attachment to that, and to the idea of this is what a beautiful home and garden and world looks like, to come and rest in the pure frequency and inner realities. And it's a great journey. It's a great journey to undo that veil of illusion that it's all anchored in this outer expression and form, and to find what the inner qualities that those realities held, like spaciousness, like light, like beauty, to feel the inner qualities of that birthing from within. And I truly believe as we all birth our inner realities of this, then we begin to see that rise around us. But we remain anchored in the vibration, in the essence, in the energy. And so as I cleaned my home yesterday, because I was back in this frequency, I felt this as the infinite domains, as just so beautiful. And my little garden, you know, out back, just infinite and so full of wonder, so full of beauty. The little pear tree and the bluebells that are coming up. You know, I could be in comparison, I could, you know, but that's that old earth frequency. That is that duality. And when we dip back across, when we go back across, I think what I'd love to share from this pod, it's really just one simple message, is that when we are in that old earth frequency, it may feel very, very hard to just ignite back to the full wisdom I've just expressed. When I'm over there, I'm quite far from the version of me that is like, wow, you know, my home is an infinite glowing domain. I am so grateful. I am so in honor. I am in peace. I am in stability with all. Yeah, as much as I'd love just to switch her back on again, yeah, it's not that simple often. And if it is, then it is. I mean, sometimes it is just, wow, and you're back across. But for the times when it's not, what I would say is not to discard or to forget the wise ways you carry, what you've remembered of your own ancient wisdom, of the ways of, yeah, ritual or of ceremony. Like for me, it's the shamanic way and calling in the directions, the lighting of the candle, the sage, listening to my inner guidance from that place at the center, at the heart of creation, and being with my spirit guides, being with the elven. It's like these things call me back, and then I receive the guidance, and I follow through on what is gifted. And there can be things that are difficult, you know, that call us from within that beautiful space of ceremony, of ritual, that call us to do things that are, yeah, really challenging and testing, parts of ourselves that don't feel strong or that we don't want to go into. And for me, I'm consistently asked to run. My spirit guides and my guidance has been so consistent for the last years to run, and I'd never run my whole life. I used to watch my sister go out running and think she was a bit crazy. I mean, I would be sitting at my window, kind of just dreaming and listening to music, and I'd see her running off, and I couldn't conceive of why you would want to do that. But a few years ago, maybe, 6-7 years ago, it started coming through. It was like to run. to run. And it's really testing for me. I keep working with it. But it's a practice that is, so I'm not as fluid there. When I am in that zone, I'm not really of my celestial swan feathers the way I am in other parts of my life that are more developed. It's harder for me. I'm slower. There are parts of me that are less awake in that act of running. And yet it is part of the evolution of my overall being. And so I go into that and I find suddenly I'm working with parts of me that are much slower, they're further behind. But because it's the guidance I've received from within the divine wisdom of my celestial swan feathers, of the wise ancient ways I carry for connecting to my innermost guidance and light, I follow through and I follow through. And I keep working with this. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful gift, because by doing that, it brings me over all. I find the circle of myself, of my being, is completing into this golden earth, into this new earth frequency, is completing, is migrating totally there. I am being given the guidance that I need. I'm being given the guidance that I need for that full migration across. So yeah, with that, I would love to, speak of, just to finish this. So the elven speak often. I will speak just a little bit more of that celestial swan feather cloak, because the silver wheel begins. So my book of elven wisdom teachings for the dawn, the very first chapter, you meet with the swan feather cloak and the donning of the swan feather cloak, of that celestial and oversoul intelligence of aeons, of all that we are beyond this incarnation, and to begin to allow that to move back through us, to take on this light once more. And it is of our higher dimensional, of our celestial oversoul embodiment, of embodying our higher self, our true self, our source light. And that is completely different. It's a totally different level of embodiment, of our grace, of our purity, of our light. And it may feel absolutely out of continuum with all that's been around us and all that we've been up to that point. And it truly is. But the guidance at this time is to really embrace that swan feather, that radiance, that which feels within you as so pure, in a sense, so beyond the continuum of the vibrational frequency range of what has been upon this earth. For as the elven share, and as so many lineages of light are sharing, we really are capable right now of anchoring that light. It will not separate us from earth. It will not separate us from being grounded, from being anchored, from being rooted, from being in integrity with the beautiful ancient continuum of the rocks, of the stones, of the flowers, of the trees. That celestial swan feather cloak of oversoul light, of angelical light. Actually, now what is possible is for us to walk the physical ground of the golden earth, of the new earth, and to be in a very, very physical and grounded experience of our celestial and our oversoul light, of our bliss, of our peace, of our joy. And as you do that, you might find yourself out of frequency continuum with maybe others around you in your family or friendships or soul group who move slower, who are not, or even are simply not slower, but they might be in an integration catch-up moment of an old earth aspect. You may be walking at different rhythms. You might find that they are in that, just as you come into a wave of integration, of being able to walk on this golden earth, and you will feel quite distinct, quite different. And we might wonder if there's something wrong with us, if we're meant to be here. Should I stay here, or do I go back? Do I go back and literally keep company? Because we are It's so natural to us to synchronize with those around us, or to be tribal, to be communal, to be in agreement with those around us. But in terms of our new earth shift into our celestial swan feather cloak, we don't serve those around us by jumping back into vibrational continuum and agreement with them when they're in old earth frequency. We do best by honoring that this is a collective migration. We're all doing it in different ways. We're all doing it in different rhythms and pulses. But we are all making this migration, just as the swans go together in this amazing coordinated patterns across the skies, make their migrations, and so many other birds, so are we. And we might be forming a different part in that formation. Sometimes you might be leading, sometimes you might have fallen behind, but we are all making this golden vibration into the new earth. And so we most serve our loved ones by allowing that celestial swan feather light within you, when you've completed your migration points, to stay there, to be in that light. And we guide by shining from the other side, as it were, by going ahead, by shining from the other side, by being the future, as it were, shining from the other side. And that doesn't mean you have to try and change anyone. You don't have to try and convince them or alter them either. You know, there's that doesn't work either, because of the nature of the dawn, because it's an innermost unfoldment for each one from within each of our own crystalline codes and Christ light from within. And so, yes, you might be given a spark of insight for, if you know, you might be gifted an insight for that one from their own greater self or higher self presence. But you will know, because that will feel kind of weightless. There's no attachment. You're just gifting across like a globe of light, and there's no you're not trying to pull them across. There's no or push them away from what they've become, you know, the density or the old earth aspect of themselves that they are in. There's no efforting from you with that. So we honor that the migration points of the light within each one are in their own perfect cosmic rhythm and pulse. And we observe, we honor, we respect, observe, honor, and respect, and stay deeply self-responsible to our own energy and truth, practicing being, because we're learning, right? We're learning to wear our celestial swan feather cloaks again. We are learning. So we've got enough to do just with stretching our own wings and learning how to fly again, how to be in this higher vibration, to explore here, to explore. So with that, I'd love to finish with a beautiful reading from Jamie Sams's amazing book, and David Carson, the medicine cards. I shared the deer a while back from here, and just beautiful, beautiful teachings of the animal wisdom, and this of the swan. So with this, I will finish, because I think this captures some of the qualities of this now moment, with this energy of the celestial swan light, as we've been through the Easter passage of each one of us in our unique and exquisitely perfect way, taking on our celestial Christ light swan feathers of that divine source light glowing once more. And as our Oversoul embodiment switches on again, I just love to confirm before I read this, when you go back across, when you find yourself if you stand on the old earth once more in that experience of duality, to remember your resources, remember the wisdom ways you've activated, your guides, your tools, you know, to make that sacred prayer, that ceremony, to do the things you know how to do, to come into reverence, into respect, with love, into reality again. That these ways that have been the bridges for so long, they still have a relevance at this time of the dawn. They still have a relevance. And yeah, once we're back into the golden earth, then everything is that. Everything is that. But to trust these ways, they really are here for us as these beautiful, beautiful bridges. So, with that, let me just share. So, this is the swan, the wisdom of the swan. And yeah, it's number 39 with the cards. So swan standing for grace. Swan, the power of woman entering sacred space, touching future yet to come, bringing eternal grace. Little swan flew through the dream time, looking for the future. She rested for a moment in the coolness of the pond, looking for a way to find the entry point to the future. This was a moment of confusion for Swan, as she knew that she had happened into the dream time by accident. This was her first flight alone, and she was a bit concerned by the dreamtime landscape. As Swan looked high above Sacred Mountain, she saw the biggest swirling black hole she had ever seen. Dragonfly came flying by, and Swan stopped him to ask about the black hole. Dragonfly said, "Swan, that is the doorway to the other planes of imagination. I have been guardian of the illusion for many, many moons. If you want to enter there, you would have to ask permission and earn the right." Swan was not so sure she wanted to enter the black hole. She asked Dragonfly what was necessary for her to earn entry. Dragonfly replied, "You must be willing to accept whatever the future holds as it is presented, without trying to change Great Spirit's plan." Swan looked at her ugly little duckling body and then answered, "I will be happy to abide by Great Spirit's plan. I won't fight the currents of the black hole. I will surrender to the flow of the spiral and trust what I am shown." Dragonfly was very happy with Swan's answer and began to spin the magic to break the pond's illusion. Suddenly, Swan was engulfed by a whirlpool in the center of the pond. Swan reappeared many days later, but now she was graceful and white and long-necked. Dragonfly was stunned. "Swan, what happened to you?" he exclaimed. Swan smiled and said, "Dragonfly, I learnt to surrender my body to the power of Great Spirit and was taken to where the future lives. I saw many wonders high on Sacred Mountain, and because of my faith and my acceptance, I have been changed. I have learned to accept the state of grace." Dragonfly was very happy for Swan. Swan told Dragonfly many of the wonders beyond the illusion. Through her healing and her acceptance of the state of grace, she was given the right to enter the dream time. So it is that we learn to surrender to the grace of the rhythm of the universe and slip from our physical bodies into the dream time. Swan medicine teaches us to be at one with all planes of consciousness and to trust in Great Spirit's protection. If you pulled Swan, it ushers in a time of altered states of awareness and of development of your intuitive abilities. Swan medicine people have the ability to see the future, to surrender to the power of Great Spirit, and to accept the healing and transformation of their lives. The Swan card is telling you to accept your ability to know what lies ahead. If you are resisting your self-transformation, relax. It will be easier if you go with the flow. Stop denying that you know who is calling when the phone rings. Pay attention to your hunches and your gut knowledge, and honor your female intuitive side. So, yeah, may there be many blessings of Swan and of your celestial swan feather cloak, whatever side you stand on right now. whether you are flying in the grace of the golden new earth ground and feeling that divine flow of knowing from within every moment you are in flow, you are in grace with the spirit of Great Spirit's plan, and you are in this beautiful movement just to affirm that you continue to be the future that you are, continue to shine in this radiance and to lead the way from there, from these beautiful higher states that are becoming so grounded within you, to walk in the grace and the peace of that, the unfoldment. And if you are on that other side of the new earth, of the old earth, if you are walking there, if you are feeling very split up and separated in some way, then just to, ignite your celestial swan feathers of the wise tools you have. How can you come back into reverence and respect with reality? What's the guidance? What's that gut knowing or intuition that is coming to you to follow through, even if it's challenging, even if it's hard, to trust your intuition, to trust the wise ways and the tools of your celestial swan feather cloak that are speaking to you through this moment, and they will guide you back into balance. They will guide you back through that portal onto that ground of the golden, of the new earth. So to trust, enjoy your migrations and your journeys wherever you are. So much love. Immortal Starlight Pod, episode 18. I think that wraps it up. I don't think there's anything else for now. I'll just come into center, into heart presence and the elven light, Ena Terra Thora Maniere Tatian, of this Oversoul, celestial soul star embodiment that we are returning to, that we are for the dawn. Enena Tora Tenokara Thea Tiana, migrating from one world to another, Totian Anatiere Thotian. So much love, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.